been 20 years since Casino Royale has danced across the silver screens and changed the world of James Bond as we knew it. But it's not only 20 years since Casino Royale and Daniel Craig's 007 debut. It's been 20 plus years since a dear friend of mine has really paved the way for content creators like myself and perhaps like yourself to have a voice and to be able to enjoy the James Bond community through events and experiences to videos to even lifestyle moments. And I'm so excited to be able to sit down with him right now and have this retrospective.
Now pay attention, 007. I've always tried to teach you two things. First, never let them see you bleed.
And the second?
Always have an escape plan.
2026. It's the 20th anniversary of one of the most iconic Bond films that hit the silver screens. But not only that, it's in conjunction to really a story and a journey that has inspired not just myself, but other content creators, not necessarily James Bond content creators, but content creators around the industry, if you will. I'm so excited to be talking about this with somebody who is, again, a content creator, curator of all epic adventures, a Bond aficionado, mentor, but most importantly, my dear friend, David Zaritsky of the Bond Experience. Thanks for hanging out.
Chris, thanks for having me back. And by the way, the one really nice part of that introduction that I'm going to hug and hold is a curator of adventures. Like that's kind of like what we're all trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if for those who don't know, I mean, the Bond Experience on YouTube does more than just the James Bond lifestyle, which we'll get into later on, but he really kind of talks about living that life at, living like Bond one moment at a time.
That's the tagline.
So
Yeah.
let's go back. 2006, Casino Royale comes out, and it's so funny because every single time I talk about either Casino Royale or Die Another Day, I always get the same reaction when people ask, "Where were you when I watched it?" And I'm like, "Well, probably not in the movie theater, or because I was 6 years old when Casino came out, and 2 years old when Die Another Day came out. So I was still, learning the ropes of life." How not only was your fandom changed, but also how did the whole YouTube and content creation, how is that different compared to what it is like now?
I mean, YouTube really didn't quite exist.
Right.
It's certainly not even close to the form that it had now 20 years ago. But 20 years ago, I mean, if I put myself back into that place, I was attending with my wife the United States premiere of Casino Royale, and it was off the back of the fact that I was doing articles, which is crazy. I was putting pen to paper instead of doing video, and I had done a few articles on the clothing, the shirts. I had been fitted by Turnbull and Asser. And because of that, because I had, a quantum of following back then, very, very, very small, I did receive this invite. It was for Johns Hopkins Medical Center. It was for cardiovascular wing that the Broccolis had subsidized. And because of that, they were able to hold the United States premiere there. And I was a fish out of water, Chris. I wasn't cool. I wasn't suave. I'm not cool and suave now either, but I certainly wasn't back then. So I got dressed up in a suit. Now, interestingly, the suit that I wore, I had purchased, and it was a basic suit that I thought fit the part. But even back then, I was trying to align the style to the moment. And we attended this premiere, and I hate to even use the term now, but I'm going to. You ever heard the term imposter syndrome?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Majorly. Like I walked in and there were people dressed to the nines. Danielle and I were amongst the youngest by far. You could tell these were people that gave, $10,000 to $40,000 a table to be at the premiere. And we were, like Bond, we were there at the grace of somebody else.
Yeah.
And we were just trying to fit in. But very quickly we realized this wasn't about money, and it wasn't about who you were or who you weren't. This was about enjoying Bond, and we had such a wonderful time, but it did make Casino Royale a very special first viewing because I'm surrounded. It's hard to be filled with champagne and food and the
Right.
pomp and circumstance of preparing and go, that film sucked. Um, I mean, somehow I did it with No Time to Die, but in that film,
Majority of us.
yeah, I did walk away and it had an impact on me for sure.
That's awesome. And it's funny, I know I just said that about No Time to Die, but I can relate that story to going to see No Time to Die myself for the very first time under the
Yeah.
circumstances I was able to. Very thankful that I got to, and just being there around everybody, and not only being surrounded by the community, many of whom, like yourself, who have been doing this for many, many years. Remert even got to be on the set of Quantum, and which is,
Yeah.
saying that there's these kind of people in the community is really, really cool. But at the same time, here I am going to my really first ever big premiere, and it's just like, wow, no matter what, no, even though the film had an interesting ending and really is a pivoting point in the franchise, it's still going to maintain that very special place in my heart
Yeah.
because of the experiences behind it. So I totally, totally understand that.
I'll say something, Chris, about your going to the premiere and me even back then 20 years ago. I've heard it described, excuse me, as those moments, those events, big or small, like even if you go to a 10-person gathering, they act as they energize people, they
Hmm.
inspire people. So your Bond fandom could be waning, it could be sluggish. Oh, there's not a lot of not a lot of news. And then you go out to dinner with one person.
Yeah.
That's another Bond fan, like Jocelyn or somebody
Yeah.
like that.
Hmm.
Or you go to, oh my gosh, a premiere. It gives you so much energy that lasts 6 months, 12 months. I mean, I know that even today, if I get into a lull of ideas
Hmm.
or excitement about Bond, all I need to do is close my eyes and go back to those experiences that I've had. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And the engines get fueled, they get revved.
I love that. You just, I mean, you've been doing this for a while because that's one of the questions later on that I was going to ask you, but we'll get back into that a little
Yeah,
later.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, no, yeah, I mean, again, like you said, no matter what the event is, big or small, I keep going back to when I even did something where no Bond fans were a part of it. It was just Bond theme when I did my Christmas toy drive for Shriners Hospital a couple years back at this one venue that agreed to partner with me, and it was James Bond themed. They were showing Bond films in their little in-house theater, but really it was just people coming together, and that kind of sparked, that ignited a spark for me to continue to keep doing what I'm doing, whether it is trying to make organic events or getting together and partnering up with other people to host events or video content. Really is something that is exciting and really fuels the tank, I'd say. Casino Royale was a reinvented version of the James Bond franchise, a reboot. And back then, when you first were starting out, I remember, well, I don't remember because I was there, but going back and doing my research, you were originally known as the James Bond Lifestyle Video Podcast.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, did Casino Royale kind of feel like a reinvention moment for you creatively, or was that just something that just kind of went along as you continued throughout your journey?
So I guess it's a tale of two stories. I mean, Remert's amazing, as
Mm.
you've called it, James Bond lifestyle webpage. And to me, there's nothing like it in the world still. He gave me the most wonderful platform to be for a megaphone to amplify my creativity. And he said, you can write, you can do video. And actually the video came because I was lazy and I still am. It's so much easier for me to just click on a computer than to write an article. Articles, because I don't use AI, they take me forever. And they just really do. And then some of it is good and some of it's not. But if I do a video, I'm just talking to somebody. It's like you and I getting together at a pub. But that platform allowed me to be a creative, to think of what do I think people are going to want to hear about and know in the world of Bond? So I mean, really, Remmert bequeathed me and anointed me a reporter.
Mm.
I'm trying to think of the word, but no, there's no other word. A reporter. I was doing reporting on the world of Bond. It very quickly, from your standpoint, became a creative moment when I stopped reporting on things and started to say, you know what? I think people just want to know that there's another Bond fan out there. And I think they're curious about what does that Bond fan think about in the world of style, fashion, products, news, books, all the things that we embrace. And that's when I started to shut off the noise of the news and turn up the volume of David Zaritsky, one Bond fan.
Hmm.
And the reason I came up with, the Bond experience is because Remmert said to me, I'll never forget the day he came to me and he said, look, your channel, your video is becoming its own thing. It's like Mickey Mouse wanting to cessate from Disney. It's like you're become your own thing. So go do it. And I was like, you're right. And I remember launching the Bond experience and it was exciting because now there were no confines, no shackles, no other platform. I was going to sink or swim,
Hmm.
but it's like that risk in any life. I think that there is a lot of doubt, even like leaving the nest. Remmert's amazing website was the nest. It was the safety zone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how can I do this without Remmert's Bond lifestyle? And I remember in the beginning tripping, falling, making tons of mistakes, of which I still make mistakes daily. Embrace the mistakes, ladies and gentlemen. Um, but it also allowed me to be unconfined
Hmm.
and unshackled. And that was a very powerful moment.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think just we all have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool to also remember where we started from because when we get to a point where we start to get recognized, it's real easy for the noise, as you put it, to kind of take us away from who we organically are. And that's really what provides the uniqueness of our individual accounts. We could talk about the same topic, but it's not really the same because we each have a different perspective. We each all have a different personality, and that's what makes it special. So that's really cool to hear because it does take risk. And for anybody
Yeah.
else out there listening, that's a huge important part because if you want to do something and go out there, be a part of not just this, but anything in life, it does involve risk, and there are pluses and minuses, but you got to start somewhere. Speaking of risks and just everything and mistakes, as you said, going up into that conversation, I'm curious from a personal standpoint because I know I've faced this, and we kind of like I teased earlier, you were getting into it. But was there any moments where you were stripped down creatively and you really had to force growth, or you had to kind of sit down and kind of look at the drawing board and be like, all right, I've talked about this, I've done this. What's next, and how did you attack it?
So, and I think I may have chatted about this before, and people probably are a bit dubious about this, but I have not once in, I don't know how many years, 25 years, ever hit a block, a creative block. I have, and I'll just tell you my method. I will be out walking with Danielle or
Hmm.
doing something very non-Bond. I'll be at the grocery store and I'll get an idea. I'll see something. I'll think of something because my mind is always at least 20% of my mind is always on Bond.
Yeah.
And I will email myself the idea.
Okay.
And then what happens is at the end of my day, I go back to these emails. And sometimes I'll have no emails, sometimes I'll have 10 emails in one day. And I'll take those email ideas and I have on my phone a reminder list and I will transfer them to the reminder list that now is, without exaggeration, about 45 different video ideas that I have. And
Wow.
as I make them, I cross them off like a to-do list, but they're still there.
Yeah.
So, and they're still burning in me. Like, yes, there may be new ones. Like I just did you know, um, the new one about the new Bond
Oh,
actor,
Callum Turner. Yeah.
Alan Turner, and that was a relatively new idea. Maybe it was a month old, but I took priority because everybody was been asking
Right,
me.
right. Mhm.
But I have all of these ideas that I build up over time. So I know that there are a lot of content creators out there that will be like, "Oh, I'm thinking of a video. I'm going to film the video today. I'm going to release it tomorrow."
Mhm.
I can't do that. Like
Yeah.
I have videos, and it drives my friends crazy. I have videos that I've filmed with my friends 6 months ago that I have not released yet.
Yeah.
I have a cologne video. It's amazing. James Bond in the world of colognes with
Oh my
Ryan
gosh.
Holt. And we filmed it like 6 months ago. And he's probably like,
Wow.
why
Mhm.
hasn't he released it? Because I calendarize and plan everything.
Mhm.
So long way of answering, no, I don't have creative blocks. I'll tell you what I do have
Mhm.
that is my challenge is I go through a, in my years of experience in doing this, I go through a lot of different stages. So I go through stages of, wanting to do events. I go through stages of not wanting to do events. I go through stages of wanting to do these types of videos versus more book or film videos. Like I go through these stages, and it's honestly controlling the challenge of those stages that I have probably the biggest wrestling with.
Interesting. Well, that's really cool. And thanks for the tips because it's so funny. I am exactly the same way. I was literally at work when an idea popped in my head, and I was like, nope, I gotta stop what I'm doing, write this down in my notes. I
You
utilize my
do.
notes app all the time. And I do the same thing. I make it into a checklist. And one of those ideas was this video that popped up, and then another one is something that I'm working on with a couple other people down the road. But yeah, I totally get it. And you got to kind of hop on the idea right then and there, or else it's gonna like you're gonna forget it. It's
Absolutely. And by the way, something that you've done extremely well that I hope other people do is, and you've grown from this. You weren't always like this, and that is not having any fear. So there was a time where you would kind of sheepishly ask a person to be a part of a video or kind of ask permission. And then I think as you grew, and you tell me, but as you grew, you realized there's no punitive damage in asking Zaritsky or Darlington or Calvin, to be on a video. They could say no, or maybe they have a conflict of interest or whatever it is. But because you've done that, you've grown your audience, you've grown your channel, and you've been able to, like, oh my gosh, in October, you attended everything. Like you were the most seen face. And I'm like, this guy's everywhere. But you're everywhere because you sloughed off any risk or fear that you had in going, hey, do you mind if I dot, dot, dot?
Mhm.
And that's what I meant by not being shy. Like, not everybody needs to like everybody,
Right.
but at least give it a try.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. I've had a great mentor that said, dance like nobody's watching.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've kept with me from the start. And I'm so thankful for those words because there are moments where, yeah, I'll be honest, to get a little nervous asking certain somebody or going out and going out in public and asking a business, hey, I love that the fact that you have coffee from Jamaica. Could I do a video talking about this? Sometimes they're kind of on the fence. They're like, who are you? What business are you from? And then when I tell them about the whole bond thing, they're like typically more 10 times, 9 times out of 10, they're like, okay, cool. That's really cool. Sure. So you never know unless, like we talked about, you take that risk.
Yeah.
But
And by the way, one thing that I've learned that you probably learned as well is,
Mhm.
but it probably took me longer than you, I'll be honest, is when somebody says no,
Mhm.
when somebody says no, and they will, or
Mhm.
when a brand doesn't chase you, or a brand says no, or whatever it is, or you don't get invited to that party or that thing and somebody
Mhm.
else does. Um, very transparently, Chris, there was a time where I would kind of sit back and go, why not me?
Mhm.
Why not me? And why did they say no? What were they thinking? And don't they realize? And I have for many years become so much more understanding of that because sometimes it doesn't fit their narrative.
Mhm.
Sometimes they don't understand what you can bring to the table, but it's never nefarious. Like I
Yeah.
used to believe it's nefarious. And you and I have talked about this, and we probably will very soon. But um, I think so many content creators, I've seen this, they infest themselves with these negative thoughts about why is there a no or why don't they like me or anything. Calling us a bond community doesn't mean everybody needs to be kumbaya.
Mhm.
It just means that we're a true community and there are
Yeah.
going to be people that don't like you and people that do like you and people that say no to you and brands that don't
Mhm.
engage you. And you know what? That's actually okay because that's also part of your journey. So
Right.
then pivot and do your own thing. Like I don't chase brands anymore. I used to chase brands and say, "Hey, what are you releasing?" And do you want me to do a review on that? And I just don't because it is so much more relaxing and joyful, quite frankly, just to let it wash over you.
Mhm.
And if you're patient, and I know this is the hardest thing for content creators,
Yeah.
is to be patient. Things will come.
Yes.
Good things will come.
And it's all about the right place at the right time. I mean, I'm a believer that everything happens for a reason. So even though one door closes, that could lead to another one that opens that you're kind of meant to go into. And more likely than not, that's where you actually are going to thrive better than if you would have went through a door that you kind of forced yourself into. So definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think everyone can take something from that and just like, enjoy the ride. It's
But
about,
that's what people liked
yeah.
about you and do like about you is you retained something that again, it just it it exceeds some people's grasp, content creators, and that is humbleness, true
Thank
humbleness,
you.
not false mumble humbleness, but the humbleness that says it's okay. I'll have to sit this one out, but I'm actually happy for you, which is really difficult for some people. I see the worst pit that content creators get into is what I call relevance.
Mm,
And I've talked about this, but when somebody uses their content or their channel to fill a hole in their heart or
mm,
to fill a gap in their life because of a family situation or a lack of relevance at work. They use their channel and then suddenly they don't feel like it's filling that gap. They do outlandish things.
mhm.
They get angry. It's kind of this dark side type situation.
Yeah.
You have not gone there. You have stayed true. You stayed humble, and I think that's why people kind of I know this is not a popular thing to say, but the content creators that are established, and you know the ones I'm talking about, they they sit back and they watch
Mhm.
and they go, who's humble, who's not, who do I want to break bread with? Who's not going to be the ego-driven person? And that's who they want to be friends with. Like not just do a video with.
Mhm.
Like you and I are friends. Like we
Mhm.
do things when the cameras are not rolling. But those are the types of people everybody wants to work with.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That means a lot. I mean, the truth is, I'll be honest with you, David. I want to take this as far as I can, and it's easy to say that because it's something that I love. It's something that I want to be able to do and give back to the Bond community in the sense of when I get, you know, 20 years from now, and we're talking about Bond 27. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully not that long. Uh, when we get 20 years from
20
now,
years from now.
yeah, we'll still be able to have these conversations, and I'm still going to be able to provide experiences for those behind me who want to get involved in this franchise. That's the goal, is be able to give back to the people behind you. So I take what I've learned from individuals like yourself who have been doing this for 20 plus years and taking it forward. So that being said, we're going to get a little emotional here, just real
Oh,
quick. But I think these are really
I got
cool
my
questions to
tissue.
ask. Good, good.
It's only because I'm getting over an illness.
Right. No.
Yeah.
So when did you realize that your channel had an impact on people's individual lives? And to follow up that question after, what has this whole journey given you that you didn't expect?
Oh, this is the Barbara Walters moment. I I recognize this. Um, so relatively quickly,
Mhm.
like in early days, I would get an email every now and then from people. And some of the emails were really profound. They were things like, "Hey, I just got over a divorce. I've moved into an apartment. I've hit a loneliness that I've never felt before. But the one thing I've continued is watching your channel and the consistency of your channel. And back then, I think I was doing like maybe once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. And even that to many people was consistency. They said, you've brought me out of my funk so many times. Thank you. Or you've allowed me to escape. I've heard people losing their job. I have emails of people in the military
Oh, wow.
actually out and they're allowed to use their computers every now and then and they'll watch a video and they'll watch a video with their buddies out on like real missions and they'll say look, it's literally murder for breakfast. I'm not playing James Bond. This
Mhm.
is like a real world situation, but you are allowing me to escape. Like you're making me laugh, and which is why I mean, you've met me in real life. Like you can attest to the fact that when the cameras aren't rolling, like I'm sarcastic and pithy and I try to be funny. So I try to bring that levity to the table because I realize people aren't just watching my videos to find out where a shirt was used and how to buy it.
Mhm.
They're using it to escape. They're using it like Bond. They're using it to have it as a matter of therapy
Yeah.
in some cases. But then I realized that people were using it also to create a better version of their life and a better version of them. And whether it was just working on discipline or routine or fitness,
Mhm.
to get into better shape to reinvent themselves, all these things. I realized they were using my channel and the content as a playbook, as a handbook. And the one thing that I've said very often to people is, you know, I say sometimes old ways are the best, and it sounds like a cute quote from Skyfall, but I think that we've moved away from a time where men, this is going to sound so misogynistic, but here we go. Men could just talk to men about how to be men,
Mhm.
how to do things, and how to mentor each other, and not in a way where you talk down to somebody, but just say, hey, like, hey, I've made mistakes. Here's how you can avoid those mistakes.
Mhm.
And so because of that, and I don't think a lot of people know this, but my biggest audience is 25 to 35 years old. They're not 58.
Mhm.
So that tells me something. It means that people do want a voice.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what that's done for me is it's created a sense of responsibility. So I do try to keep things extremely positive, as you know.
Mhm.
I do try to embrace people that may not embrace me.
Mhm.
I'm working on it. It's hard, um, because I'm trying to create something here with the Bond community. I take it very seriously,
Yeah.
and which is probably why I push out, some of the rage baiting that sometimes goes on, or
Mhm.
you know, we've seen cultural divides, we've
Mhm.
seen political divides, and I just, yeah, every now and then I'll get a little forward and try to smooth it out because the Bond community to me is it's a very special place, as you've
Yeah.
talked about it, and it's a place that I don't feel any ownership of it.
Mhm.
I don't feel like I'm an ambassador. I don't feel like I'm a senior leader or a member of it, but I feel like it's such a wonderful place. I do want to keep that wonderful place wonderful. And it's not eradicating every negative voice. It's not eradicating different ideas from me or different content. It's making sure that people feel safe.
Exactly. And I think
That's what
too,
it really is.
Naomi Harris said this perfectly when she was on stage during the Cue the Music concert in October,
Yeah.
that the world is in need or in want of that those old-fashioned type of values that we are seemingly losing as we move forward. And what Bond creates and the Bond community creates is a sense of that. And I think, for more, positive reasons, it's cool to be able to rely on somebody like yourself and other people with a voice and be able to get back and learn how to do that properly. So, this has been fantastic, and what I'm excited is to see the next 20 years moving forward, not just of your content because it will be there, but also to see what the future of Bond will be there. And that's why I wanted to do this right now in this moment because we're on the cusp of a very special year, celebrating 20 years of Casino Royale, 20 years of content creation, and it's inspiring to me to see how you've been able to keep up with everything so consistently, being that consistent voice for the Bond community, whether, the people up there and the Bond production chain hear us or not, you still are there and representing us. So for all of us, I just want to say thank you and thank you for spending your time here talking about this retrospective of all
Oh,
things the Bond experience and Bond. And from friend to friend, thank you for everything.
oh, thank you, Chris. No, I appreciate it. I mean, I'm really looking forward to this year with you and with everybody else because the reality is we're heading into a year that's not only going to be fun and exciting. I mean, they all are, as long as we make it fun and exciting. This is going to be a year of change. And I know people, when you say something like that, they start to think, oh, does he know something? Is there going to be a movie announcement? I don't know anything. I don't know anything, truly. I'm not being coy. What I'm talking about with change is I truly believe that there is going to be change in the Bond fandom where it is going to expand in
Mhm.
ways and experiences are going to happen that are going to seismically change in the most positive way. And people who were in corners are going to be front and center, and it's just, yeah, I mean, I have a vision, quite frankly, and an understanding of what is going to happen to the point where when I think about it, I get so excited.
Mhm.
Something very unusual happens for me. I get a bit tongue-tied,
Ooh.
which that typically doesn't happen for me.
Yeah.
But I am so excited for the year. I'm also excited that we're going to be seeing more of each other.
Yes.
Um, Finally, there's a gather all on the West Coast, and if we pull off, man, oh man, I will tell you something. If we pull off what we're trying to pull off, the West Coast will be the beacon in the night when it comes to Bond fandom. You will see.
Oh, I love to hear that. It's right there. I'm so excited. So
Yeah.
be on the lookout for that. But hey, David, thank you for this. I this has been fantastic. I just again, everybody watching, this is a retrospective of not just Casino Royale celebrating its 20th anniversary, but also David Zaritsky of the Bond experience.
Bond
I had to
experience.
throw that in there, sorry.
Yeah, I did.
And just celebrating everything you've done. Hope you guys enjoyed this video again. Thank you, David, for your time, and we'll
Thank
be
you.
seeing each other real soon.
Yes, no doubt. Take
All
care.
right, everybody, take care.